Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Bob. How's it going?
Welcome to our 2024 narrow frontside ski comparison. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, this one is interesting because a lot of these skis you can use as your frontside carver, your beer league racer, or just something that you want to go insanely fast on, like this.
Yep.
So there's a lot of fun to be had here.
There's a lot of fun to be had here, but would you agree that there's less variety?
Once you we're really narrowing down the skis, and once you get to a certain point in narrowness physically, yeah, you're losing range.
I think so too. And it sort of happens on the other end of the spectrum too with powder.
Right.
Which we haven't done the powder comparison yet. And it happens on that side for different reasons. Like once you're in really deep snow, like the way that the skis are engaging with the snow surface is there are less differences than when on firm snow. Here, it's more that just a lot of the shapes are very similar. And we're really talking about like some subtle differences between a lot of these skis.
Yeah, there's a few outliers, on either end, but there's a lot that will say like mid-range, like mid-radius, mid-range, mid-radius.
Yep.
And there's more of those than outliers.
Yep. I feel like with this category, more than other categories, there are usually comments from people saying, where is X ski?
Right.
And I thought I would address those comments now just to get
they're still gonna write them in.
ahead of them. There are a bunch of skis that I would have loved to include in this comparison that we just don't have in the building right now.
Yeah.
I think part of it is like we buy fewer of these skis just for like numbers of a single model.
Yeah.
So they tend to go quicker. In fact, as a little sneak peek, we have one of these left. And the only reason we have one of these left is because the order got canceled for some reason.
Right, and it's a 162, and it's a slightly strange size for that ski.
So before you say this video is useless without the Stockli WRT Pro, it's right here.
Yeah.
But one of the skis that kind of came into my mind that I wished we had up here, and we had it in our ski test too, so you can always go find those videos and learn about the ski, is those Rossignol Hero Masters.
Yep.
That Hero Master LT I think is sweet.
Right.
So if there are skis that you're curious about that aren't up here, chances are we have skied them and tested them, so don't hesitate to leave a comment.
Yeah, a few that jumped out to me were like in the head category. The Rebels race.
That's another great example.
We skied those this year.
Yep. Those blue skis.
Yeah, the blue skis.
Nice, pretty blue.
And even within Supershape, like we didn't have an E Speed, which would have fit well in this category as well.
Yep. So not a perfect scenario, but
the best we got.
Just working with what we have. Yeah. And Bob, we didn't really talk about who was going to go first in this, so I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
I see that you negated the scale. Do we feel like that's good for this one?
I think it's fine to not weigh them.
I do too. They're all heavy.
They're all on the heavy side.
With some exceptions, and we can point that out when we get to them. Like I'd say the Stocklis are probably going to run a little bit lighter, but not drastically.
No.
So to start, this is a fun one to start with. We are going narrowest to widest in this video. This is the Atomic Redster X9s. This ski is pretty wild. Ultra power wood core, which we learned is a combination of poplar and beech.
And beech, yeah.
Yeah, with the power wood core that we'll see here being poplar and ash.
Correct.
So some slight differences there, but if you look at it just in Atomic's catalog, you'll just see ultra power wood core and power wood core. Then we get 2 sheets of metal in this ski. We also get this RevoShock S system, right?
Yep.
The S is the steel. Yep. I always want to say like M for metal.
M or C for carbon.
I mean, I got it right, so.
Right.
Hooray. And then I really feel like the key, the highlight of this ski is its shape. So this is the narrowest ski that we're going to look at today. It's 65.5 millimeters underfoot, and it has a 16.2 meter turn radius.
It's not length. which is the
Yeah,
182.
Yeah.
183.
Really?
Yeah, I got a
Oh, yeah,
183.
look at that. It'd be weird if I had a 182 and you
Yeah.
had a 183.
The other option was we had a really short one, which I didn't think looked as good.
Yeah, so turn radius on the shorter side for sure. And it's not a race ski. That's the
Right.
first thing about this ski that I find particularly interesting is it's all there. It's pretty much built like a race ski aside from that like ultra wood core rather than or ultra power wood core rather than the power wood core. But this is, I suppose if you took out the next two skis, or at least the next two Stocklis, I'll bring that Pro back in. If you completely took those out, this would be far and away the most precise ski I've ever skied in my entire life. And with that comes some limitations.
Yeah.
So like the footage of me skiing this ski that you're gonna see in this video, like that was a really good groomer day. But this ski is so precise and pretty darn stiff that it was like too good of a groomer day. Like this ski wants just bulletproof conditions to react against, and we didn't necessarily have it that day. It still worked really well. You just had to be more delicate on it. But yeah, just being like this narrow with this construction, it is insanely precise.
Even like you really need it to be hard.
Hard.
And it's funny because we run into the same problem with these skis that we do with the powder category in the opposite with the lack of powder.
Yeah.
And it's not, we obviously run into more firm snow than deep snow here.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that, even like a softer groomer day, it's hard to get a good read on what this ski is capable of, just because with that slightly softer snow, you just lose that precision.
Yeah, or you have to harness it in a different way.
Yeah.
You have to be much more delicate with how you're weighting the ski. Like I definitely on that day, I definitely like stuffed the tip a couple times, just like really wanting to engage the ski right up here, and the snow was so soft that it just pushed right through, and then you kind of buckle and have to like regain your composure and balance, and then still turn because you're still at the beginning of your turn.
Yeah, I had the same experience on the Rebels E Speed.
Yeah.
That it was just a little too soft for that shape and that similar shape.
Yep. So really, really fun ski, super precise. If you're really looking to like feel all the intricacies of your skiing, it doesn't get much better than this.
Yeah, and I appreciate that they come out with this in the longer length, even with that shorter cut. I think that's a very unique thing.
I believe, if memory serves me correct, I skied it in the 175.
Okay.
I believe. It was either 175 or this, because I would remember skiing a 167.
Yeah.
But 14.2 meter radius in the 167, and 167 is actually like, kind of a cool length for a ski like this.
Yeah, I think it's okay to go a little shorter than what you're used to. The stability is built into the construction.
Right, and it's not, as we kind of mentioned, it's not a race ski. It's not a giant slalom race ski by any means. So it's not necessarily designed to just go fast in a straight line. It's designed to make turns.
Totally.
So kind of cool.
Yeah, and we can talk about that more when we get to the G9.
Now, do you want to just do these next two skis together?
Sure.
This ski, I'll give you both of those.
Okay.
And I'll just hang on to this this Pro.
Yeah, both worthy of their own discussion for sure.
Yeah.
WRT ST, this one here, slightly different construction, similar wood cores. They do keep it a little bit light in the wood core.
That's like where it'd be fun to have the scale, but without bindings on these, it's like an unfair comparison.
Totally. A little bit different additives and other construction methodology going on here. So the ST gets carbon steering control. We saw a pretty cool video of George demonstrating that. So built into that metal, there's a carbon
bridge.
Yeah. So when it flexes, it's kind of loosens, and then when you release, it just snaps right back in place.
Yeah.
So they're using that carbon to really get your ski back to its original state. So that's carbon steering control, And then carbon power turn is found underfoot, and it's basically just a carbon laminate underfoot to stiffen the ski torsionally. Both of these skis have that. Your Pro over there does have that Ti2 top sheet.
Yep.
So that upper metal laminate is the surface of the ski, and that just gives it a little bit more precision in the initiation phase. Really incredibly smooth and powerful throughout. And then your Pro also has the phenol sidewalls, so those racing black sidewalls.
It's just touching them.
Yeah, it's a, versus like an ABS sidewall, it's just a stiffer material. And we can talk about it when we get to SC as well. But if you think about a sidewall as like as a vertical laminate within the ski, it really kind of, boosts the power of that property. When we talk about like Rossignol with LCT, that line control, that vertical material through the middle, that's kind of what the sidewall material does just on the sides. So you're really adding like 2 vertical stiffer laminates to a WRT Pro.
Yeah, like struts kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And then, turn shape and style. What do you got there? I mean, it's hard to compare.
So the shapes are the same.
Same, yeah.
And our side cut dimensions are going to be the same too, 118, 66, 100.
Yeah.
This is a 162, so it has a 13 meter turn radius, and I believe yours has a 16?
16.3.
That was close.
Yeah.
So very actually similar in shape.
Right.
There's literally 0.5 millimeter of difference in width underfoot, and the turn shapes are very, very similar across lengths.
Yeah.
So quite similar, in my opinion. I would say this ski, if anything, this is exceptionally similar in how it feels, in my opinion. I think this kind of takes it to another level. Like I've skied, we've both skied both of these. I've always found that is just easier to get the responsiveness out of it, which makes sense with the carbon in there. But it sure was eye-opening following Robbie Kelly on a Laser WRT Pro this season.
Yeah.
And that was, and you guys, you'll get to see it, that was just full display of the capabilities of this ski. And if that's what you want to do and you want this shape, then you should get this one.
Right.
Premium product, probably not for everybody. I'd say that ski is a little bit more for the masses.
Yeah, and like they're still like pretty stiff. Yours is a little bit stiffer in the shovel than this one, and I think that's just the top of that metal really coming to life. A few notes on like binding choices here. They do kind of even list your options for you. So you can get a WRT D20, like a full-on race plate, SRT carbon, SRT speed, MC max flex, or MC D20. So there's like customizable binding options that you can find on Stockli's website. I think we just get them with one. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but they do give you different options for kind of customizing the race to recreation realm.
Yeah, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
Because most of these skis, you don't have that option.
No, you get your binding or you get your plate.
Yep.
But they have different options, different configurations you can use from plate to binding, ranging from pretty much World Cup down to high-end recreational.
It's like $1,700 with a phantom treatment?
It's a pretty expensive setup.
Something like that?
Yeah.
This order that was canceled?
Maybe you get a car.
Yeah, you could.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Tougher now.
Yeah.
There used to be $1,700 cars all over the place.
I know.
I used to buy a $500 car every winter and drive it through the winter, and then I would sell it for $500 because that was the bottom of the car floor for price, and you just don't have that as much anymore. But I think you could hem and haw about whether to buy a Laser WRT Pro or a car. Do you think anybody in the world is having that internal debate?
I think it's a different customer than a $1,700 car customer.
That's where my mind went too, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
People are People do weird things.
You see more expensive mountain bikes than cars.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like how many times have you seen a mountain bike on top of a car around here, and the bike was worth more than the car?
Right. So it does happen.
It happens, but I agree it happens less with skis. Yeah. But great skis. I mean, they truly are premium level carving skis.
Yeah.
But again, not race skis.
No, and that's the other thing is a lot of these skis on this wall, even though there are race capable, citizens race, beer league style, when we look at their catalogs, there's
more skis
a
above
few higher
them.
levels.
Yep, 100%. And we typically, although we ski some of those skis, we generally don't go into the true race world in our discussions. Although we did have like a World Cup downhill ski in one of these comparisons once upon a time.
And again, that's showing the extreme of what's out there.
Yeah, what you don't want.
Right.
We've got one in our office. We've got, what, a 218 downhill ski?
Yeah, thing looks awesome. Terrifyingly awesome.
It's scary.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's been leaning on the wall for 3 years.
Yeah, still with the stickers on and plastic.
Yep. Now we're moving on to the Head Supershape E Original. Pretty cool ski. It really is built like the rest of the Supershape line, but this one's, and I think, like kind of special. Like kind of sets itself apart from the rest of the Supershape collection in its shape.
Yeah, and they kind of do that interestingly. So when you get your original, Magnum, Rally that all have the shorter style turn radius, and then Speed and Titan, which fall on the longer side. This one is certainly, I would say, the most slalom oriented of the group here.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is our standout slalom option. So wood core in this ski, 2 sheets of metal. We get graphene. Head uses a lot of graphene in their construction. We get that energy management circuit, the Formula One kinetic energy, or what's the static energy? What's the potential energy? Sorry.
Potential, yeah.
Yeah, it's harnessing unwanted vibrations, storing them as potential energy, and releasing them as kinetic energy.
Yeah.
In theory.
That's the theory.
Was I correct in my scientific explanation?
I don't know. I like to always read the catalog when we get this techie.
Anyways, but it's pretty classic Head Supershape construction here. And like Bob was saying, the standout feature here is again, the shape. 129 in the shovel, so nice big shovel like a true slalom ski. 66 underfoot, 107 in the tail. This 170 is a 12.1 meter turn radius.
That's short.
True, especially for a 170.
Yep.
You know, typically with slalom, you're like looking at 160, 165, and you're still getting like a 12 meter turn radius. So if you are looking for a ski that has basically the same level of precision as what we've talked about so far, maybe not quite as precise. I would say those skis have a little bit more torsional stiffness, particularly in this section of the ski, but still extremely precise and like short turns.
Yep.
So if you want to just make as many carving turns as you can, you should be looking at a ski like this. And I emphasize carving turns because it's interesting because these shapes don't skid turns very well.
No, and they don't ride flat either.
Exactly. So because of like the big differential between the tip width and the underfoot and the tail, like there's a big shape there.
Yeah.
Parabolic. That never really wants to skid because it's always like engaging. If you can imagine this ski up at a high edge angle skidding, it wants to take it and pull it into a carve.
Yeah.
So you really are looking at a ski that it wants to make short radius, clean carving turns, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But skis like this are really fun to have. Multiple different applications, you know, like nice to have a ski like this to round out a quiver if you're experiencing a low snow year or like a slow start to your season. Maybe you lived somewhere that has a shorter lower mountain lift. Maybe you live like in the Midwest and you just don't have that much vertical feet, period.
Right.
Having a ski like this is really nice because it's kind of maximizing the potential of the vertical feet that you do have.
Yeah, I always think it's interesting when people ski these from the top of Stowe and they have 7,000 or 8,000 feet ahead of them, not vertical, but just the length of the runs here from top to bottom are super long. Like
Yeah, a couple miles.
you're making a
Mile
lot
and
of
a half.
turns.
Yeah.
So I like your take on it, where if you want to maximize your turning potential and capabilities on shorter lifts, shorter runs, this is a great option.
Yeah. Like if we were at Stowe, like why even go up the quad?
You wouldn't. You'd go ski Spruce and ride Sunny and have those nice pitches. And
Yeah, or even just ski Meadows.
Yeah.
And like ski Slalom Hill.
Right.
Is that Slalom Hill or Comp Hill?
Well, you can get to them both.
Comp Hill. Which one do we race slalom on in Ski Bum Race?
Slalom Hill.
Which one do we race giant slalom on?
Well, we only race Comp Hill when Slalom Hill is unavailable.
But don't we race specifically slalom on Comp Hill, or no?
I think that was a unique instance.
Huh. Interesting.
But I could be wrong.
People have no idea what we're talking about, which is really fun. Our beer league, our local beer race league, we have one slalom event, and every time I've done that slalom event, it's been on Comp Hill, not Slalom Hill.
I mean, maybe that's, if they have to do it on Comp Hill, then they're going to make it a
slalom. Maybe that's
Yeah.
it. Because it is a shorter pitch.
Get your dollar to turn ratio
Yep.
up a little bit. This one kind of lengthens your dollar to turn ratio. This is
The opposite.
the opposite. This is kind of our first foray into the more GS style. So this is an atomic Redster G9. And as you were talking about the ultra power wood core in the X9s, this one has a power wood core,
Which I think is denser.
I think is denser.
It's counterintuitive.
Either way.
Ultra means it's ultra energetic. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like the ash makes sense in this ski.
Yeah, I agree.
When we're dealing with ash in some of these longer turn skis, so
Yep.
at least it follows suit. There's some consistency here. But yeah, same thing, 2 sheets of metal. We get RevoShock steel for vibration absorption. And then the big thing here with this ski is the shape. So we are looking at more of a GS style turn here, 177, 18.2 meter turn radius, and with a 68 millimeter waist. So we're bumping up 2.5 millimeters underfoot from X9s.
Yeah.
But when you put them together or side by side, really the straightness of the shovel and the tail stand out in this G9, giving it more of that long turn characteristic and high speed stability.
Totally. Way different.
Yeah.
I mean, for 2 skis that like look very similar when you just like glance at them, one's red and one's blue, obviously. But aside from that, like they both look like carving skis. But boy, when you ski them, they feel very different. And like this is the conditions that I was describing where maybe it's not bulletproof. Like this is easier.
Sure.
Because it'll just let you go straight.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this has much more of that traditional giant slalom feel to it. So
yeah, would be a great beer league ski.
Yeah, this one will fit better with more recreational race kind of gait and course setups.
Yeah, 18.2 meter radius here.
And so that's, there's certainly debate within our ranks as to what the ideal turn shape is for
our race
for
course.
Our race.
17.
That's your mark.
17.7.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But either way, if you're looking to get into that beer league racing, this is a great choice.
Really good choice.
Also, like a lot of fun for just early morning groomers. Like that's another huge benefit of a lot of these skis. If you're more into the speed side of things, though, that's where this G9 comes in handy.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking to max out stability, this is where it's at.
Yeah, this, like, I put it in a similar league as, like, Disruption Ti2 there.
I mean, yeah, this kind of like the original, I think, is an outlier.
Yeah, but this is getting close to that.
Closer, yep.
Yep. Pretty good comparison to that MTI. There's some differences in width there, but I'd say that they have, like, similar feel when you ski them.
Yeah.
Similar experience, rather. Maybe not similar feel, but...
No, and that one just feels more like a race ski, that G9.
You know what's funny? These skis are so heavy, they're denting the floor.
Oh, I see that. That's great, in the carpet.
I've never known. I don't think any other comparison leaves a mark in the floor. No. So that should be representative of what what we're dealing with here.
Yep.
And this is an exciting one. This is the Nordica Dobermann Multigara.
They like totally sprung this one on us last year when we got to Industry Day, Demo Day. They were like, here, ski this. This is our new thing.
Well, it was really funny because I think they started with Spitfire.
Yep.
And they were like really excited about Spitfire. And they were like, you got to ski this 85 DC. Like the thing's awesome. And we were like, okay. So we skied those.
The Steadfast 85?
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Steadfast. I always mix those up. So we skied the Steadfast 85. And then they were like, oh, well, look, we did like similar updates to the Spitfire range,
Yep.
and we skied those. And then they were like, we also have this other ski, the Multigara. And we were like, well, why haven't we been skiing that one?
Right.
So this one kind of follows a similar concept, but sort of takes it to another level. So we've talked quite a bit about double core technology. So they've got like two wood cores stacked on top of each other, basically.
Yep.
And this ski is a little bit different than most things in the new kind of double core collection, if you will, in the sense that it has two sheets of metal as well. So it's like double core, double titanal.
Yep.
So pretty cool build in this ski. And then Bob, I don't remember what phrase you used, but you were talking about maybe like middle of the road turn radius or something like that. Nice medium turn radius. This is the sweet spot in my opinion for that. So this is a 175 and we've got 121, 70, 101, which is a 16 meter turn radius. And for me, like similar to what we were looking at in those first couple skis, I just really enjoy that radius as a like feel-good carving ski. So maybe a little short for a race course, but race build here, or at least close enough to race build for me. And it just like, it was smooth. It's got all like the smoothness and vibration damping that double core provides. Like we felt that in the Steadfast too, and there's far less metal there. So super, super smooth. It felt very like planted to the snow surface, but not like punishing somehow. I had a really good time skiing these skis, and like I always appreciate skis in this category, but sometimes I wouldn't describe those experiences as just like overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, I think like unflinching is a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
And that is a pleasant attribute to have.
It just, for me at least, it translates to a little bit more confidence.
Yeah.
Where like, we're starting to make a pretty substantial difference from a Redster X9s, and that's strictly coming from the waist width. So, or I guess width throughout the entire ski. So this ski just, it didn't feel as, like, I don't know, as a...
It felt great.
Like, that ski just it reacts to everything.
Yeah.
And in some situations, that's really good. And if the snow surface you're skiing is perfect, then that's incredible. But this was, I suppose, just less reactive and not in a bad way. Just a different experience.
I think it's just a more comprehensive ski experience.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good way to describe it.
It goes where you want it to go and does what you want it to do, and it doesn't take too much energy or concentration like some of those more reactive skis are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's it.
It's not quite gonna like take your input and immediately shoot you into the next turn like the original.
Right.
But it's certainly going to hold up to whatever you
or like the
put
Redster,
into
like
it.
that's got more like snap into your next turn. That X9s, I should specify. It wants to be skied a little bit more, rather than like figuring out how to ski it.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Couple other upgrades to this as well, which does kind of push the price tag up on this one.
Yeah, what was the price on this thing?
It's 15,
it's getting
maybe?
up. Yeah, it's getting up there. Yeah.
So upgrade to the 14 DIN binding versus a lot of these that are
XL12. Yeah.
And then the plate in between is zinc, which I don't think I've ever really gotten to say in a ski review before, but apparently there's zinc in there.
It's that thing.
Yeah.
That's the sound that zinc makes. I learned that 4 seconds ago.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm glad you pointed that out because I would have forgotten all about the zinc, even though we had a specific conversation about zinc maybe 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It is a unique material for ski construction.
Yeah, but yeah, better binding, better system, that top end double core, double TI technology, and for my money, one of the sharpest looking skis up there.
I agree. And it's just kind of like an elevated Spitfire.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I would love to own one.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one to have.
I don't think they made many. Do you remember what Nordica was talking about? Like they didn't, like there's only like a couple hundred in the country or something.
I don't know. We got like 5 of them here.
Oh, that's not that many.
I know, but I thought we were just gonna have one.
One,
Yeah.
sure. But no, great ski. And if you're looking for just like a premium product,
Yeah.
these, I don't have any like profound things to say about the difference in feel between this ski and a Stockli.
No, maybe like a little quieter in a Stockli, but
we're getting pretty close.
Yeah,
it's a
pretty
marginal
close.
difference at that point.
yeah.
So well done, Nordica, for sure. And we have the Spitfire 74 down there too, so we can kind of talk about differences when we get there. Here's that ski for you, bud.
Thanks, Jeff. This is the Blizzard HRC. Notably missing from the wall is the WRC.
Yeah,
that's another one that we wish we had.
Yep. HRC has, to me, felt like it has emerged as the flagship Firebird.
I think it captures a bigger audience.
Yeah.
But it's different this year
Yep.
than it has been. So
Yep, substantially.
That theory has yet to be tested in a more long-term format as of yet. But a few updates this year for HRC. So we get a new width.
Yep.
So they used to be 76. It used to share the platform with the Thunderbird
I just
R13.
realized we have an error in our width organization.
Oh,
'cause
no.
This is narrower than Multigara.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's okay.
69 millimeters underfoot.
The
So
ski width police are going to come put you in cuffs.
they kept basically the same footprint, but narrowed it. So it used to be 76, now it's 69 underfoot.
Yep.
So they're dropping the waist width, but they're still keeping that mid-radius arc to it. What do we have here? I don't see it on mine.
It's pretty darn similar to
like it's 17.
15.8
15.8
in this 175.
Okay,
so
thank you.
really similar to Multigara.
Yeah. And then construction-wise, we used to have their wood core with the carbon stringers in between the wood stringers.
Yeah. What was that called? Carbon spine?
Carbon spine, yeah. And they used to have carbon armor, which
Yep.
was a carbon plate underfoot. So the carbon's gone, and instead they just put in 3 sheets of metal. So,
yep. And
True Blend Race.
Yeah.
Yes. So ash and poplar, lot more ash than poplar. Really, the forebody on the sides in the shovel and then through the tail are the only poplar sections, and then ash through the middle and full ash underfoot. So lots of ash and then 3 sheets of metal. So you're ending up getting a pretty darn powerful ski.
Yeah. Now, if that's zinc, what is that?
Aluminum?
It's a good guess.
I'm reasonably certain that it just, it's not as ear-catching when you're reading as zinc. So
Certainly not.
I didn't pay-
and I didn't think
didn't
that
pay enough attention.
honestly, I didn't think you would have the answer to that question. I just, I've never really focused my eyes on that section of this binding system.
yeah, and that was new for like the R15 and the R13 that we'll see is this kind of beefed up bridge between the toe and the heel plates of the system. But yeah, we're getting this mid-radius ski with an extremely strong build. Narrower waist than it used to be, so a little bit more precision, more carving oriented. You could really kind of get away with the older HRC as being considered like that would have been in our wide
It would have been
frontside
in the wider,
comparison.
and we talked about that in reference to the Thunderbird R15
Yep.
because they used to share the same exact footprint.
Yeah. And now this is different in both shape and build. So interesting updates to HRC, and we'll see if it has the same kind of cachet as it had before, where it was like this wide, powerful frontside carver.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to see more people using this in a beer league that felt that older HRC was just a little bit too wide?
My instincts say yes.
I would say so too.
My instincts would also say that arguably the previous ski strikes a bigger market.
Yeah.
But now that they have the Thunderbird R13, I think it makes sense to take this in more of a race-focused direction.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then to kind of bring it back to WRC, which kind of shares this similar footprint and build, but
Longer
radius.
Yeah.
So kind of a difference that we saw between X9s and G9.
Very, very, very similar
Yeah, seeing that
conversation
same
there.
difference here.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty excited about this new HRC. I think that this is, like you said, differentiates itself more from Thunderbird and kind of puts it into what I think is more of what it's supposed to do.
I think so. With the Firebird name,
Yeah,
you know, those are the race skis.
yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, great new ski. I always like it when you get to say like 3 Ti.
Triple
Yeah,
TI. We get to say that with Disruption Ti2, maybe? I always,
like 2+.
there's a vague amount of metal in
know.
that ski. There's just a lot.
A lot.
Anyways, next ski up here is the Blizzard Thunderbird R13. So this is different than what we just talked about in Firebird HRC. So one thing that's kind of hard to describe, you had a great just hand-written, hand-drawn representation of True Blend race versus
You're making
True
fun
Blend.
of my art skills.
I am not at all. I genuinely think if we showed people that doodle, they would totally understand. But so True Blend pieced core in this ski, and basically what that means is there is less of the denser wood. So True Blend cores are all about like positioning different density woods in different sections of the ski, and this is just less dense than
Yeah.
True Blend race. 2 sheets of metal in this ski still. We've talked about that with Thunderbird R15. Like, even though they're not, sorry, did I say Thunderbird R15? The bird distinctions are tough. Like, even though this is not a Firebird, it's still plenty of ski.
Oh, totally.
And I think this is an awesome ski to have on the market because, as you probably know, Bob and I really developed fondness for the Thunderbird R15. It's just so easy to ski and so fun to ski and so rewarding. And this kind of packages the same thing, but in a 13-meter turn radius. It is narrower, too. This is 70 underfoot. So it's kind of just like, maybe you've skied a Thunderbird R15 and you were like, I think I'd like to turn more. Then, like, it's just cool to have this. And it's actually quite similar in a lot of ways to the Supershape original that we looked at to start. But here we get that active carbon armor. I think it's really cool how they do this like floating attachment point and let this whole thing kind of like move with the ski.
Right.
It's very well done. And they're just, they're super fun to ski and they're super rewarding. And I think it's a really nice addition to the collection.
Yeah, I think that there's been more and more emphasis on shorter radius carves.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of them taking that kind of movement and taking it to the next dimension.
Yeah, just taking a winning formula and
Yeah.
repackaging it. And I think it's sweet.
Yeah, and I think that there's, like you said, a lot of skiers that are going to be interested in turning more.
Yeah.
And again, shorter runs, less vertical.
Totally.
It really, having something like this boosts what might be like perceived as not as interesting of a ski area.
I agree 100%.
And that just is increasing everyone's enjoyment.
Right. And like what a great accomplishment for any
Right.
ski. You know, if you make your experience more rewarding and just more exciting, then you've won.
Right?
So, really cool stuff from Blizzard. I like the emphasis on these carving skis from Blizzard.
Yep. Yeah, we could have easily had that third one in here. You know, there's a lot of these companies that certainly could have more than what we have here.
Yep.
Rossignol's another one. We have 3 Rossignol's. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 Rossignol's.
Could have had like 7.
Yeah, you mentioned the Masters.
You could have thrown athletes up here and
Could
just
have thrown
gone real
athletes.
crazy.
This also comes in a short turn, and
Yep.
so there's lots of different Rossignol. I was even just scrolling through the entirety of the Rossignol catalog
No,
yesterday.
it literally takes like
It's-
multiple scrolls to
pages
get
and
through the
pages.
carving skis.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yep.
So this is a Hero Elite LT. So this is the longer turning version, the more GS style of ski from Rossignol. This one's built with a beechwood core. So similar to what we see with Powerwood core, they're using that material to kind of gain that longer turn consistency and stability. We have 2 sheets of metal, Titanal beam, and then they're V Titanal. So we'll talk about V Titanal again with Forza, and then V Cam with the multi-turn. But what they're basically doing is they're putting a ridge in this upper metal laminate here, turning it into a more 3-dimensional structure, and then that stiffens the properties of the ski without having to add more stuff. So it's an efficient way to increase the stiffness of the ski.
Yeah.
And just make it more high-speed performance oriented.
And something that Rossignol uses in a lot of their skis.
They do, yeah, which is really nice to see them kind of take stuff from race room or on-piste and put it into free ride and all mountain.
Totally.
17-meter turn radius here in the 172. I don't think we had a longer one. I'm not entirely sure, but interesting to see that, you know, even that seems shorter, but very stable at speed.
Yeah, 17 can go fast.
It sure can.
It'll run.
Yep. And then we kind of see this with Rossignol a little bit more dramatic in how they shape the shovels of their skis. It's very crisp and sharp in my mind. So nice flatter, you know, that flatter profile, a little bit lower profile. I think just looks really cool, and then just helps really initiate from the very front of the ski.
Well, I've mentioned it before. I really like how it visually ties together, like basically everything from Hero Athlete skis to Hero Master skis to Forza, and then even into Experience.
Yep.
It's like they all have a similar look.
Yeah. And there's not generally a lot to talk about when we're talking about taper or rocker, but there are a few exceptions, one coming up where rocker starts to come into play, but generally these are all fully cambered skis, fully tapered,
Yep.
not a whole lot of anything built in, 71 millimeters underfoot, so we're creeping up just a little tiny bit in terms of width. But really just this thing motors, you know, we're starting to get to that point where softer groomers or broken snow is now kind of in play.
Yeah.
And having a little bit of extra width underfoot does help kind of smooth that stuff out. And then connect binding on this one. This is kind of our first foray into a different type of binding system here.
Yeah, and like no connection.
No connection.
A little bit bigger of a sweet spot,
Yeah.
I think. Just bends a little more easily underfoot and
Yep.
maybe doesn't transmit quite as much power.
Right, but allows the ski to flex a little more naturally at the
Yeah.
same time. So you're getting a little bit of that more tip to tail flex out of this thing.
Yep.
But great skis. We see a lot of these here at Stowe.
Yeah, you do.
And I think that's just a testament to what we have here for terrain.
I mean, it's great Stowe ski.
Yeah,
I would have a lot of fun skiing this thing on a semi-daily basis at Stowe.
how about this one?
Boy, it's fun to talk about this ski because I love it and I hate it, and it's a really interesting ski.
This is some of the most fun I've ever had on a ski. I think you feel the same way.
It kind of, yeah, I mean, it's probably some of the most fun I've ever had on a ski too. It's also probably put me in some of the most nerve-wracking situations that I can remember on skis as well. So this is the K2 Disruption Ti2. K2 is not known necessarily for race-style carving skis. They put more emphasis into that with the Disruption line years ago at this point. They've been around for a while now. Ti2 wasn't in the original collection. We got it in the second year of the Disruption skis. So MTI was kind of the flagship Disruption. Now it's Ti2, Aspen wood core in this ski, and then there's double Titanal I-beam, and I think a little extra metal too. I think there's more metal in this thing.
I bet you're right. And it's pretty thick looking too from the.
It is.
From the sidewall profile.
Yep. Talk about thickness. The thickness in the core through the tip is like visually terrifying.
Yeah, but it translates to performance about as directly as any other ski where you look at something like you look at it and you're like, I bet that is extremely stable on snow.
It is. You know what's interesting is on K2's website right now, it says this is the most stable ski we've ever built.
Interesting claim.
And it has to be true. Like what K2 could even come close to touching the stability of this thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
So this is basically a full-on race ski. The only thing keeping it from being full-on race ski is this 177 has a 20.4 meter turn radius, and it is 71 underfoot, where like a true GS ski is going to be narrower underfoot and a longer turn radius. But this is my personal race ski. We get a marker piston plate on here, so it's like a true race binding system. And I fully appreciate this ski. I absolutely love what it can do. I find that I don't ski it as often as I wish I could, because there's like, there are situations where I don't feel like I'm a good enough skier to ski this thing.
You need some room
particularly
to run.
in a race course.
Yeah.
That's where it really happens to me, is I just like, what's the stivet? My
like
stivets
a
are
smeary carve.
My stivets could use some work.
Yep.
And I feel like in the course that we typically ski on a ski this long, and I have the longer length, so my turn radius is even longer. I think it's close to 22.
Yeah, I think it's over. I think your 182 is like 22.3 or 22.8. Yeah. It's over 22.
Yeah, so it requires some finessing, and again, my stivets could use some work because I just slash turns.
Yeah.
I don't stivet. When I make that move on skis, it just keeps going rather than make that move to then get into a really tight turn. And it's tough for me to bend it too, but given the right conditions and given the necessary energy level for myself, there's nothing better in my personal quiver of skis for going fast.
You know how we kind of joke about the term of making the mountain your playground, and how that's like...
Yeah, does that make the mountain your race course?
This makes the mountain your race course.
Yeah.
That's what I've found. And here at Stowe, we have very long and winding trails. They're old style, natural cut. So they kind of follow the contours of the mountain. And that's where this thing is just really comes into its own.
You just turn when the trail turns.
Turn where the trail turns.
Yeah.
And it's about as satisfying and rewarding of a skiing experience as I can possibly imagine.
Yeah, it is super fun.
It's super fun. Here's kind of where your stivity capabilities come into play. There is a little bit of rocker in this ski, both tip and tail.
I think they call it 2 millimeters.
It's very slight, but it is there.
Yeah.
So this is maybe a slight tip rocker in a Thunderbird.
There actually is in this ski.
In that Rossignol, just a little bit.
Tiny bit.
This is slightly different though. So there is that longer rocker profile here. Just to kind of combat what you were talking about with that extraordinarily thick sidewall that runs clear around the shovel of the ski.
The tip profile of that ski is cool too.
Yep.
I like the shape of the tip. It's very square.
Yeah, and then that nice, funny little stubby splay going on here. You know, it's just like tiny little splay.
Yep, like a race tip.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, probably the most fun I've had on skis is on your pair. So thanks for letting me borrow.
No problem. My pair are cool too. They were built in the United States and they're numbered.
That is pretty cool.
I think I've got 37 out of 50.
Yep. And
I've seen 2 other pairs, I think, in my life.
yeah, and I skied that. You have the 182, and I didn't feel the need to go longer.
I don't think you can.
There is a longer,
Oh,
but no need for that.
no.
Stockli Laser SC.
I've always really liked this ski, Bob.
Yeah, and it's a similar conversation to what we had with WRTs. It is a little bit lighter of a wood core. You know, Stockli obviously has their like laser, like the GS and the FIS level skis. So there is a little bit more accessibility here, especially in the shovel.
That's what I've always loved about the SC.
Yeah, slightly easier to engage that turn, but then throughout, I mean, it's just about as
it's all
solid
there.
as it gets.
Yep.
So 2 sheets of metal, and then this year we are getting these racing black sidewalls. So again, we're basically adding vertical laminate power to the ski. That just translates right to edge grip. So the theory is that this year's Laser SC will have better edge grip than before because it has stiffer sidewalls.
Yep.
So there is an increase in performance from last year. And I think pretty cool graphic upgrade. I really like just kind of this simple, understated white with black. I mean,
The just all over SC print.
yeah,
It's kind of cool.
I really enjoy that. And then they have their binding options too here. You know, WRT plate, carbon, multi full flex, and then they also have Strive demo. So
Awesome.
you know, there's an option for just that all mountain Strive demo binding on here as well that we see on Monteros and stuff like that that are color coded. But 177 here, 72 underfoot, 16.2 meter turn radius. You know, SC supposed to be a little bit shorter of that turn, and it does kind of make that nice slalom, quick edge-to-edge carve. Flex torsion control in this ski, so they cut slits through the top sheet of metal here.
Yeah, like curves too. It's
Yeah,
cool.
curves. And then basically it's kind of like how like articulated titanal banding in Armada skis work, where the idea is that it allows the ski to twist especially at lower speeds,
Yeah.
and then engage more of the ski in the snow.
Well, and at load,
It
the
locks.
difference here, this
Yeah.
locks. So it's a little different than articulated titanal banding once you're like in a turn.
Yeah, you get going and then you feel it stiffen up,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty cool and
I agree.
just a nod to their engineering.
Yep.
But extremely quiet. You can say the same thing for WRTs.
Yeah, no, it's got the same smooth factor
Yeah.
as both those skis.
Yeah, and this one's just more accessible. I think you'll see a greater range of skier that's able to get on the SC and enjoy themselves more than kind of that more high-powered WRT ski.
I think it's a better daily driver
Yeah,
for most situations.
and I'm interested to see how people feel about the stiffer sidewalls and how that affects kind of
I'm
people's
curious about that
day-to-days.
too. I can't help but feel like it brings it closer to the SX.
Yeah,
In fact, I think it would be pretty interesting to ski them back to back and go back and forth between SC and SX.
yeah, and see which one works
Yeah.
better.
I like the SX. I've always liked the
Yeah.
SX because I like to ski it and imagine myself in a skier cross course.
Yeah. But yeah, great option. You know, again, dealing with a premium tag, but you do get the quality as a result, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yep. And then next ski up here, this is the Deacon Master 72 from Volkl. Great ski. Really cool. It's a lot like, in my opinion, it's a lot like the Ti2, but maybe a little bit more approachable. I just don't find it quite as punishing, but like the theme is
Yeah.
similar. And I think a lot of that is just represented visually by the fact that it has a piston plate on it. So ash wood core in this ski, we get 2 sheets of metal, we get tailored carbon tip, which is a really cool piece of technology that you see all the way through Mantra 2.
Yeah.
Katana, does Katana have it? Katana
No,
doesn't have it.
It's old.
Yeah, poor Katana.
Yeah.
But it is cool, and it's different. You know, in these more carving-focused skis, the way they shape it is just designed to provide not necessarily more torsional stiffness, just kind of like delivering it in a different method. But I've always really enjoyed skiing this ski. 72 underfoot, and this has a 16.4 meter turn radius.
So similar to this SC.
Yeah, it's like the build, you know, really, it's like a nice blend of the last two skis we looked at. Because the build, to me, is more Disruption Ti2 with all that metal, a real race plate. It is slightly softer flexing than a Ti2, but I say slightly because all of these skis are pretty darn stiff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the turn radius is more in that kind of user-friendly, middle-of-the-road situation. Could work as a ski bum ski. We don't see too many people skiing on this ski in our race league. I think a lot of that has to do with like, what's the word I'm looking for? Arrogance. Because you see a lot of like 27 meter turn radius skis in our race league, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we don't have to adhere to FIS standards here.
Well, I think a lot of people seek and actively buy race specific skis.
Yeah, why are they doing that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like this, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this is a better choice because like you can actually ski it normally too.
Right, you can like go do a race run on it, and then go just free skiing, and it's fun. Right, where like those, like on our Tuesday race league day, you see those guys on the 27 meter skis, like they're just going straight.
Right.
It's just like it's like a transportation method to get from point A to point B. It's not even skiing anymore.
But then, like the good racers can still turn them. You know, they can still turn those longer turn radius.
I have no
skis,
issues with those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a different breed.
But I think if we're looking for like places 20 through 60.
I'm glad you did it by places and not by age. I was going to do it by age.
Okay. No, I think places is a little more.
I agree. 20 through 60.
If you're finishing 20 through 60, like this is a better choice.
Yep. Gosh, even 10th through 60.
10 through 60.
What's the best finish I've ever had? 9th, 8th, 7th?
Yeah, you were top 10.
No, I was 3rd once because I waxed.
Yeah, on a spring day you wax. You hit the wax right.
Nailed the wax, really got him. But, you know, I feel like this arguably would be more of a benefit for me in a course like that, even though I can, like, sometimes crack the top 10, more beneficial for me than, like, a Ti2 is. Yeah. So, just something to think about.
And then, like the Ti2...
Little rocker?
Yeah, we can talk about rocker on this thing as well. You know, Volkl just kind of makes flatter skis. Yeah. Like there's not a whole lot of positive camber in this thing. You know, they're making up for it with that ash core. And then just slight tip rocker, very similar to what we saw in that K2. And then just tiniest bit of tail rocker. Yep. So that's just kind of increasing the accessibility and the smoothness of transitions. It's not like super eager to just throw you into the turn or rebound you out. Right. But the solidity and the stability and power are all still right there. Yep. Like the rocker does not affect the overall high performance ceiling of this thing.
No, which is, I think, just reflective of like modern ski construction. Like they control torsional stiffness where you need it and then allow for more flex or more rocker just for a better, smoother skiing experience without taking anything away from the ski.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, Volkl's known for their engineering, so that's a nod to that for sure.
Is it your turn to talk or is it my turn to talk? I don't remember.
My turn.
Okay,
I'll do this one. K2 Disruption MTI, like you alluded to earlier, when this thing first came out, this was the top end, you know, got supplanted by the Ti2. But there's still a lot of really fun and engaging and active carving performance.
Oh, this one's awesome.
Yeah.
Like Ti2 is fun and it's like really cool having a ski with those capabilities, but this is awesome. You know how you have recently, or at least over the past few years, you've been like more in the school of thought of like don't get rid of any skis.
Yep.
I gifted my Disruption MTI to a coworker, the ski is literally probably right there, like 20 feet that way, and I regret doing that.
Yeah, if you never give skis away, you'll never regret giving skis away.
I also should probably sell more of these things. I've given a lot of skis away in the past 5 years. Like really good condition, pretty current skis.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I don't get rid of skis
MTI.
and I don't replace bindings. If a ski gets mounted with a binding, that's the way it stays forever.
Yeah, I got to learn more.
I
got to follow your footsteps
Not
more.
doing that anymore.
Anyways, I just wanted to express my fondness for the MTI through my regret of gifting mine away.
Understood. This one has a little bit of a different build than Ti2. We get a blend of maple and aspen in the wood core, so a little bit different of a feel and certainly a different sound.
Yeah.
And then as opposed to the Ti2, we get the single laminate of metal in this I-beam shape. So, you know, it does leave the very edges unencumbered by the metal.
I realized that we've neglected to talk about dark matter damping.
I was going to bring it up in this one.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I feel like
it doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything in this thing, but in the MTI it does. So through the forebody and in the tail, they have this elastomer material that functions as a vibration damping system, and it works. They put it in these areas because that's kind of where the chatter starts or originates within a ski.
Sure.
So it does make it feel smoother from tip to tail. Like once you get into the underfoot zone, especially with full metal width under there, you know, it's not like there's a whole lot of chatter going on in this section of the ski. We more find it at the ends. But it is a different feel. Like I don't want to say it feels more plasticky, like in a bad way, but it does.
It feels more plasticky
than this.
But in a good way?
I guess like
I know exactly what you mean.
The energy that you get out of the ski is surprising.
Yeah.
Given how strongly or damp it feels.
Yes.
I think that
I agree.
It's quicker than it lets on.
You get a lot of responsiveness out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like again, I don't want to. The plastic has bad connotations, but
it's all right. Dynastar uses it in all their skis.
Right. Bottom line, ski's great. 74 underfoot, 19.3 meters in this 180.
Yeah, nice shape there.
Yeah, nice shape. It's a good mix because you can make it ski quicker.
Yeah,
this is one of those ones that's a little bit more like able to be manipulated. It doesn't have to adhere to that radius. Like when you get into something like HRC with all that metal and that 15 point whatever meter radius, like that's what it wants to do.
Yep.
It's a lot more difficult to break free from that than it is something like an MTI. And since they don't have a race heritage to base their skis off, they kind of build from the ground up, and that's part of the intent.
Right.
They're like, oh, we want this to be a fun and engaging carving ski that you can do stuff on.
Yep.
And that's where this thing's really interesting.
Yep.
And like, you know, we don't bring up mogul performance a whole lot, but this would be one of the better bump skis on this wall if you're looking to kind of mix, you know, on-trail carving and then throw in some off-trail stuff. Like, it's not versatile, but it's a decent bump ski.
I personally am will not ski moguls on a system carving ski person.
That's just a non-starter.
I just don't do it. So nothing on this wall.
Zero.
Nothing.
Not even this with a Strive demo?
Nope, don't even.
Okay, fine.
Nope. Actually, that one might be okay. But it's just, I just find it like they all have flatter tails.
Yep.
The system binding adds a lot of weight. Then I find myself working hard on weighting the tail and lifting more mass, and then I just get tired, and then I get late, and then my left hand gets over there, and then you make fun of me, and then I go home and question my existence.
Well, you got to practice.
I was doing great today on that 172 and Forster 94.
No, me and Matt were saying how good you did out there.
Looked like a mogul skier.
Not
quite.
Not quite rocker. No, I'm not talking about you anymore. Not quite rocker in this thing, but certainly a lot of positive camber underfoot.
I think they list rocker. I think they do. 2 millimeters of rocker.
I have a hard time seeing it. speed rocker.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's not much there. I just remember it. There's a difference between the MTI and the 82 Ti, and I think the difference is that they list 2 millimeters of rocker, and the 82 Ti they list 4 millimeters of rocker. And forgive me if I don't remember those things exactly accurately.
That's fine.
So excited that I get to talk about this Spitfire DC 74 Pro.
We both we're instant fans of this thing.
Totally, instant fan.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we were saying about the Multigara carries over to this ski. It is a little different because we just have the single sheet of Titanal. So this has the double core that's sandwiching one sheet of Titanal and an elastomer material. So I think that's really cool. It does soften up the flex. Like this is, comparing just directly to this, the Spitfire does have a softer flex pattern. I've always been a big fan of the Spitfire line in general. I remember talking about the Spitfire 80 years and years and years ago and just being like, why don't more people ski on things like that? And just developed such a strong fondness for it immediately. And really cool to see the kind of progression and the changes that these skis have gone through, and these give me the same kind of visceral reaction to just skiing them, but the performance, it's not like the ceiling was raised, it's just the general feel is better.
Yeah.
This double core construction is just awesome. So obviously we're 74 underfoot here, and this is a 16.5 meter turn radius. So to me, this is just a really, really good daily driver resort carver.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like a race ski, nor should it, because they've got race skis. We don't have true Dobermans up here, like GSRs or Doberman GS.
Yeah.
Nordica has plenty of real race skis if you want a real race ski. The Spitfire 74 to me is just such a rewarding resort carving ski. I don't know that I would want to race on it. I think going narrower is nice personally. I think you definitely could, but I that's at least internally where I'd kind of draw the line. And just a pleasure to ski. I really, really enjoy that.
I think you like it for the same reasons that you like the Blizzard, the R13,
the Thunderbird. Yeah, I mean, they're very similar skis.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Just this is a little bit narrower, and these new 74s split the difference between last year's 72 and 76.
Yeah, and I never knew which to pick.
72 or 76, yeah. And then they had 82, so they've tightened up their grouping, put in the new build, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and then does put this a little closer in terms of intent, application, and overall performance as that Thunderbird R13.
Yep. Sweet skis.
Yep. And this was one of those ones that we got on and instantly felt comfortable.
Didn't you ski this a ton?
Yeah.
I have a lot of Bob.
I think I took a bunch of
Spitfire
runs on
74 clips.
Yeah.
That hopefully they're all watching right now.
I didn't want to give it back. And it's interesting because it basically has the same build as Steadfast 85.
Right.
Just in more of a race-like shape to it. So takes that performance and puts it in more of like an expert category.
Yep. Yeah. No, we haven't talked about ability level much in this comparison, but most of these skis are kind of advanced expert category.
Yes. Yeah.
It's hard for me personally to find many intermediate applications here, and maybe that Forza 60 is one of the best ones that we'll talk about just after this.
Yeah, and I'd put this one in here too.
Yeah.
This is a Hero Elite MT, so this is the multi-turn version. Basically shortening up the turn radius from the LT, and we get a different build as well. So poplar wood core as opposed to beech, and we do get Titanal beam underfoot here, but then instead of having the vertical metal laminate in this one. We get the vertical carbon alloy matrix, so carbon and basalt fibers interwoven, and then put in this, they put their V shape in there, so they're stiffening the carbon and basalt weave by putting it in that three-dimensional format.
You can see the cross-hatching of the carbon alloy matrix in this ski where the LT doesn't have it.
Yep, and then mid-radius, mid-range, 15-meter turn radius here in the 175. Are we at 75? 74 is still underfoot, so still under 75, but still that same nice profile that we see in that LT as well. So very kind of nice visually, but also hooks up well and puts you in the right spot to make a good turn. I think that the lack of that full metal does kind of open up your intermediate discussion here, Jeff.
Yeah.
Where someone who's progressing and looking to kind of perfect the art of the carved turn will have more success here than maybe something else.
Yeah, I think as long as you've got like reasonably good technique.
Yeah.
Because then from there you can take it and just kind of keep pushing harder and harder and harder and take your skiing to another level.
Yeah.
And the ceiling of this ski is still pretty darn high too. You could progress on this ski for a long time without out skiing it.
Yeah. And just a slightly different kind of build here where we're seeing carbon being used in a front side ski.
Yeah, there aren't really many skis up here that rely heavily on carbon. Kind of interesting going all the way back to...
Right.
But this has plenty of metal too.
Yeah.
So that's the difference there.
Yeah, so they're just keeping it a little bit lighter and more energetic and more accessible. So I think that progressing skier can find something to do on this.
Yep, and then moving on to another Rossignol. This is the new Forza 60. So this is really cool. A lot of the attention has been on the Forza 70 because that is kind of the flagship model. Yeah. But we spent a lot of time on the 60 towards the end of the season, and I just found that this ski was... It at least surpassed my expectations. It's still a really, really high-level ski. Still basically the same build as the Forza 70. We get that V Titanal in here, like the same kind of feel. You can feel it right there. So really cool how they're kind of just controlling the flex of the ski while keeping the weight down. And like, I feel like we haven't talked about counter-flexing much, but that V shape does a really good job. Kind of similar how like the vertical struts work, just controlling counterflexing, which gives you just a really, really nice connection to the snow. The big difference between this ski and the Forza 70 and really like both other Rossignol's that we've looked at so far is the tip shape, which we can spend a little bit of time talking about in a second here. Before we do, we are now up to 75 underfoot. This 171 has a 13-meter turn radius.
Nice and short.
So nice short turn, and then that's kind of that tip shape that I wanted to talk about. So with Rossignol, the discussion is usually how much the side cut extends, and while that is true on this ski, it does taper and rounds out just a little bit. So I just find that makes this ski a lot more approachable for different ability level skiers, and also more forgiving, which makes it just a really, really good all-mountain ski.
Yep.
It is a narrow all-mountain ski. You know what, Bob? I take it back. I would ski bumps on this.
I thought you might come around.
Yeah, this would be fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just like a pretty forgiving, well, forgiving might be an exaggeration, but more forgiving than a lot of skis up here and more forgiving than most Rossignol carving skis, but still plenty of power. You know, and that was kind of the thing that like didn't shock me, but was a nice piece of knowledge to have, is that this is still plenty of ski. You can ski it really hard, you can push on it. You really won't out ski it unless you're like a big guy, like maybe you could.
I mean, this length was all they had too when I skied it, so I didn't get a truly fair shake. But I like the 70 and the 173.
Right.
I think this comes in a 179 as well, which I would like to try before I give a full shot at it. But yeah, this short of a turn radius and this short of a ski is difficult for me maintain.
Right. But very rewarding.
Yep.
Super fun to ski. And then that, like, we haven't talked about it yet in this comparison, but that 60, that's in reference to the edge angle that in theory you should be able to achieve. And I just think that's such a cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're not like looking to get 90-degree edge angles in your carving and you're just looking for like a really, really nice carving experience, hard to look past the Forza 60 in my opinion.
Yeah, and really similar builds actually to the multi-turn here.
Totally.
You know, both use that carbon alloy matrix. This uses the vertical metal.
And this we get the V-Titanal.
Yeah, this is vertical matrix. Excuse me. But other than that, it's really shape. So this one, more dramatic tip shape and tail shape. You know, 130 something, I think, in the tip here. 130.
It's big, yeah.
So it's big. It's like your, what was your other big one over there? The head. Yeah, we see more drama in that shape here than most other skis.
Yep. Yep. And kind of fun to choose between those too.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think so. And if you're just looking to make more turns, like this is probably a better choice.
More turns and more variety.
Yeah.
I think it's less of just like a raw carving ski. It is still a really good carving ski. I just find it's pretty darn easy going. Like anywhere you want to take it.
Yep, and another one that's nice accessibility for a progressing skier.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, ski bumps on the MX-75?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I thought so.
This has got to be the best bump ski up here, huh?
Probably.
With the Holotech shovel flex.
Yep. Yeah, lighter swing weight.
That would be really helpful for me.
Get this thing around.
Before, I think it was yesterday, we were talking about this wall, and I think I said something like, this is the most interesting conversation. Because it's flat.
Right. There aren't many skis out there. Like, this is it. This is our only downstairs ski where we keep the flat skis.
Right.
So it was really interesting kind of going through this process and being like, well, we're topping out at 75. We have to include a Kastle MX 75 in this discussion.
And well, I think it's a fun one to end on.
Yeah. So this is the narrowest of the MX line. And we kind of talk about this more with our all mountain and freeride skis rather than Frontside, where kind of the extremes of a line. So whether it's the MX 98 on the wide side or the 75 on the narrow side, or even like Enforcer 88 through even 110. Like they all share similar characteristics. So if you're familiar with one, it's not a huge leap to another, even if it's super narrow. So this 75 does take construction and shaping characteristics from the wider skis. So thin wood stringers of poplar and beech, fiberglass, 2 sheets of metal, really has that Kastle precision and power to it. I might say it's my favorite MX. I think this thing is really, really interesting.
It is interesting. You know what I find very interesting about the MX line is that it's more and more ski the wider you go.
Yeah, that 98 is a challenge.
Yep.
It's a chore.
And the 88 is the real deal. It's a lot of ski.
I think the 83 is the sweet spot. That's where I feel like that's the one that when they were like, we're going to make the MX line, that's where they started. And then with this, it's like, let's make something that's even quicker and narrower and more agile and more engaging.
I feel like they started with the 88, but I know what you mean.
For me, I think the 83 works the best for the build.
And it has a huge audience.
Yeah.
The 83, where the 88 and the 98 is tricky, and then like this ski is pretty approachable.
Yeah, but yet when we've skied it, it's also been just extraordinarily rewarding.
Yes.
So you do get a ton of energy out of this thing because it's so narrow for having an all mountain shape. Like it's kind of hard to say that this is a narrow all-mountain ski, but it's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just incredibly satisfying to ski. The 83 makes really clean, round turns, but this thing does it just so much quicker.
Yeah.
And like personally, excuse me, like I value quickness in a ski because I'm not like a quick person.
Yep.
So I like my ski to take up the slack.
Yep.
But I love this thing. Really, really engaging, super fun. Yeah, you can bend that tip.
Yep.
But the tail still follows that same characteristic of anything else up here.
Yeah, flat.
Front side, flat,
squared off.
tons of metal. Really, really fun.
Yep. No, cool ski. I feel like you could put an expert carver on there and they'd rip on them.
Yeah.
And then like, not that Allie's not good at carving, but like Allie's skied that ski in a number of our kind of Kastle photo shoots and stuff like that, and she always gets along with it really well too. And she's more of a moderate speed skier.
Yep.
And I think that's just a good representation of the MX-75.
Not a whole lot of rocker, you
No.
know, like.
None of them really. None of the
No.
MX. Even the 98 doesn't have a lot.
Yeah, that stays pretty consistent. You know, we see just this tiny little bit of splay at the end just to keep it out of race world.
Yeah.
But that certainly puts it into the versatile side of the spectrum.
Yep.
But yeah, I like this thing a whole lot.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's an interesting one to end on.
Yeah.
Because it's a slightly different conversation than anything else up here.
You're not, but like this wouldn't be your ski bum race ski choice or even remotely.
Nope. No, I think the soft flex and the shovel is kind of hurting its race abilities.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So as expected, that was very interesting.
Yep.
Hopefully you guys found it interesting as well. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, if there are any skis that you're curious about that we didn't have up here, first, our apologies. There's just so many skis.
Totally.
Second, feel free to leave a question. Yeah, we always listen to the comments and we always try and get as many things in here as people are asking for that we can. But sometimes we're not able to get everything. So don't hesitate to ask a question. More than happy to provide our opinion. And yeah, we'll see you out there on the snow.
Bye.